Peace. We're back. What's happening? Talking about the beat. Eyes. That's why it's all eyes right now. We're talking about eyes. I got my notes. Huh? Got my notes. All right. So I started with the sample with this joint. I used to boycott digital digging, digging on YouTube in the YouTube crates. I used to not be into that. I used to be a purist, strictly MPC. That GIF right there and records. But when I got the Octatrack, that changed up for me. It changed. I had a change of heart. And because of the way the Octatrack samples, the time stretching and just the chop capability, it's really the time stretching, it made me want to sample any and everything. So broke those habits and started sampling a lot more for YouTube. So this was a YouTube snatch. Yeah, this was a YouTube snatch. Got the sample going and it really wasn't hitting the way I wanted to. So I started playing with the rate. Played with the rate, slowed the rate down, got it to like a tonal harmonic space. Big words got it for a spot that sounded pleasant for my ear. All right, like I probably talked about on the last vid, I've been tired of doing the same type of thing on the crossfader. Normally I just filter it out, old school style, it works. It's easy to do and it's kind of like familiar for me to do. I didn't want to do that. So like the last time I probably did these videos, I used the LFO, or not the LFO, but the amp. It made the slices sort of choppy on one side. Worked out. That's what, I get into this bag where I start doing familiar things and I stick with them for a second till I find out how I really want to use them, and then I'll move on, but that's something else in my arsenal. All right, so I got the samples started. Really, I had to turn the rate down to get it sounding how I wanted to sound. I really wasn't all the way happy. So I turned on this bad boy back here, the DX 27, and I did some chords, some long chords, but first and foremost, I did some chords in chunks, like some sort of staccato, chunk, made it feel snappy. I got a comment on Instagram, I think from Brian. He said that he loved how snappy it felt. So it made it feel snappy, right? Boom. And added some little off rhythms because I followed the sample to a degree, like what the sample was doing. I wanted to enhance that, but then I wanted to bounce in and out of what it was doing. So some little syncopation happening, me playing off the sample. I do that a lot. Then what I wanted to do was, I had the thought to let me add like a string that just rides throughout and gives it some continuity. But the sound that I was rocking with on the DX, really just like the initial patch with a couple of tweaks, was so ill that I just basically did what I was going to do with the strings, but ended up doing it with some chords. And I made the chord just move a tiny bit. I started with right hand with my pinky on the highest note and just built the chord going down. Pinky highest note, then down with the middle, with the ring finger, and then the middle finger, and the index finger. Makes sense? We here, eyes, boom. All right, got that out. All right, then I just started generating my bass with the Mother 32, and that's when the beat started to make sense to me. It started to really come together. It's like that sub bass. It was giving me what I needed to push me through the rest of the beat. Then I added some voca keys plucks. Now this was cool this was a cool thing that I never really thought to do. All right, the voca keys is 3-note polyphony, 3-note polyphonic. So my approach was I set up a MIDI track on the Octatrack, and it's like either I chunk out some chords on the Octatrack, I chunk out some chords on the Octatrack. I'll either leave it like chords, or I'll switch the Octatrack to arpeggiator mode, and it'll move through those notes in the chord, right? I like doing that. I like doing that. You know, it takes my idea of whatever I was trying to do harmonically to the next level by just like mixing those notes up, and they don't have to be stagnant chords. But that's what I normally do on one MIDI track on Octatrack. This time around, I got a little tricky, or I experimented. So I set up 2 MIDI tracks on the Octatrack, both controlling the vocal keys. And what I did was I wrote out one pluck line on one track on Octatrack, one line of plucks, dun, 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 dun. And then I wrote on another track, I wrote out a separate set of plucks that complemented it, that made like some little cool harmonies together, you dig? So when those plucks strike together, it made some cool harmonies. So yeah, that was on 2 different tracks, and it worked out really nice because I could bring in one, or start off with one and then layer the other one, and or you know, vice versa, have them both there and then take away one, and it did some cool stuff. And they were a tiny bit detuned. I like that. My boy, I wasn't a big fan of it until I started making music. My boy DJ Red Handed, shout out to him, with the detuned synths. You feel me? It was always kind of hokey to me, just because the lo-fi cats overuse it. But when used the right way, can add a lot of texture, punch. It'll punch through that mix a little bit. All right, so yeah, that was the beat breakdown for EYEZ. EYEZ. Hand kind of ashy. Maybe this next beat will be called Lotion. Peace. 1.